So despite Tearlaments being in the game for 4 or 5 months now, still feel like this is an engine that most people in the Master Duel community still aren't aware of. Of course, and I'm of course talking about Branded High Spirits. So I figured since I already did a video on Branded High Spirits and Branded Despia, I should make a video on it in the other fusion deck, because fun fact, Branded Despia is not the only fusion deck that High Spirits is broken in. So the idea with High Spirits and Tearlaments is you have High Spirits and any tier name, either a Merle, Sharon, or Havness. Then you reveal that tier name, and you dump a roll call to the grave, pitching the tier name and then adding Cartasia. This will trigger the Sharon or whatever tier name you dumped in grave to fusion summon for Kid Kalos, and your opponent cannot Bystial at this point because you do not control a monster. Next, you summon Kid Kalos, and if you didn't have Merle already, you would add Merle to hand. Since we did, we can just add. Let's add a Trap to hand. So we also have Scream. And this next part is key. Normal summon the Cartasia. Activate Kid Kalos, targeting itself. Then chain Cartasia. This way, the Cartasia will fusion summon into a roll Kalos using Merle and Kid Kalos. Then Kid Kalos effect will special summon a Merle from grave. And fun fact, you do not need to send the monster that Kid Kalos targeted to the grave to summon back Merle, because tier cards are fair and balanced. And a few things to note about this situation right here. This is the first time your opponent can Bystial you, because this is the first time you have a dark monster in the grave while you control monsters. And if you notice, we already have a roll Kalos up. So at the first instance that they can Bystial you, you already have a negate for their Bystial. Number 2, this roll Kalos, again, was made using Cartasia's effect. You didn't use the tier name for this. So you didn't use Merle, you didn't use any other tier name. So you still have 2 fusion summons left after this, and you already fusion summoned for roll Kalos and Kid Kalos. So essentially, Branded High Spirits gives you an extra fusion summon over the course of your turn, or lets you fusion summon 4 times instead of 3. And third, this Cartasia, it's a level 4 monster, so it can make rank 4 exceeds, but it's also a tuner, and hopefully I'll get to show you why that part is relevant after this classic Mill 11 tier. I held on the Scream until the end since we already had the Merle in hand, and I wanted to trigger as much milling as I can with the Kid Kalos engraved, so you have an extra free fusion material engraved to fuse with. Alright, Mill 3, Mill 5, Mill 3, Mill 2, so let's trigger the Havness, and do I want to trigger the Merle? Yeah, might as well, since we already triggered. This will be our 3rd tier name. So I'm gonna make one of these. I'm gonna make a Garura using the kit. Then I'm gonna make a Mudragon with the Havness. So now if you notice, Garura is a level 6 fusion. So with this setup, you can make a Garura over the course of your turn. Then the Cartasia and the Garura can make a Baron. So you have just this Omni negate for free. And you can activate Garura's effect, and you add and draw a card. And fun fact about Baron, first of all, let's just make the elf. So now we have a roll Kalos and a Baron, both protected. Can't super poly this board. And Baron, if you want, you can actually use this Baron to pop the Scream you have. And then, if you didn't manage to mill a Scream in your 11 cards, the Scream will add you the Crime this way. Other things you can do with the Baron is if you milled this Rhino Heart earlier, and you had access to Kaleido Heart, you can make a Kaleido Heart and then pop that with Baron as well, and then that will send you whatever tier card you want. So here we have this setup with we Fusion Summon 4 times, so we have Roll Hollows, Baron, 2 tier traps, and we milled 11, and our first 2 fusions were safe from Bystials, yada yada, we drew a card, and it's not over yet, by the way. So at the end phase, Artesia has this other text where during the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, which obviously it would be because we play Kick Hollows, and add this to our hand. This ensures that Crime will always have a monster to pitch. The Cartesia will always come back to your hand at the end phase, so your Crime will always be live. Which is, again, that's the final thing that's like harder to do with Tearlaments now, because with limited tier names, sometimes you don't mill enough or you don't hit enough things to have a good discard for Crime. Well, that's no longer the case with High Spirits. Right, and in case you feel like this engine is a little bricky because you're running 3 cards that will only work with 6 monsters in your deck, well, first of all, it's more like 8. If you run Per Rhino and then Foolish Burial Goods for Sulliek, that's like 8 names you can search out with Brand High Spirits. But take this hand for example. There's no Tearlament name in my hand, but you see this card is still glowing yellow. And why is that? Well, because Kelbeck is in fact a target for Brand High Spirits. So as you can see, activate, reveal Kelbeck, and then you have a Shaddoll Construct. Shaddoll Construct is a level 8 fusion monster with 2500 defense that's a fairy monster, which means if you have this in your extra deck, you can discard Kelbeck off of Brandon High Spirits. And then you can just trigger the Kelbeck to mill 5 that way with High Spirits. And oh, would you look at that? With no tier names in hand, that means you have a higher chance of milling a tier name when you just pitch it with High Spirits. And we kept the Scream in hand because you can also mill Rhino Heart. And if you mill Rhino Heart, you can just summon it and pitch it with Scream, and then you go to town that way. So, in fact, there are 11 targets that you can just pitch with Brand High Spirits. So it's not as bricky as you would feel, and obviously that right now you milled 2 tier names, so you can just do full tier combo from here without even starting with a normal summon. And by the way, can't Bystial you still, by the way, because we never controlled a monster. And now you get your Kick Hollows to add the Murley. You can activate Scream, normal to Cartesia, and then you have this entire play open to you again, plus a Scream mill. So, yeah. In summary, this engine is just 3 Brandon High Spirits, 1 Blazing Cartesia, and then 1 Shaddoll Construct in the extra deck. So 4 main deck cards and 1 extra deck card, and then you have possibly the strongest extender you have available to you to play around Bystials. And if you're not, I know a lot of people are bored playing Tearlaments right now, but if you want to spice up your Tearlaments gameplay after 5 months, here you go.